We're good to go?
When you're ready.
All right. Is there still an echo? Yeah.
John, you going to talk about ECA? We could have we've got a board member here.
Right, we're good.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Chelsea, can you lead us? Pledge
allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the engineering manager, and this requires Board of Finance and RTM approval. Whereas on August 1st, 2023, the town of Fairfield received a donation from the Stratfield Village Association in the amount of $150,000 for the Stratfield Streetscape called Four Corners project. And whereas the town of Fairfield accepted the $150,000 donation, and now therefore be it resolved that the first selectman be and hereby is authorized to accept said $150,000 donation from SVA and expend the donation to fund project costs associated with Stratfield Streetscape Four Corners project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hi, I'm Bill Hurley, engineering manager, and I have Raymond Smith here with me from engineering, and he's the project manager for this project. We want to thank SVA, obviously, for the donation, and now it's time to spend it. So
Yeah.
if you have any questions, Raymond and I can answer anything.
We've expended the ARPA money, we're in the now closeout phase of the project, so this is just to kind of button everything up.
Right. So the project is completely done, or are there any aspects of it left to?
No, they're effectively done.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the project. Colin did an excellent job.
Yeah.
I think SBA is happy with the way everything turned out as well.
Yep. Well, thank you.
No, just thank the SVA for their advocacy and their fundraising and just their dedication over the years to getting this project to move forward.
Any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
That was
Ray.
easy.
Thank you.
Item number 4, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires a Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled a resolution appropriating $2,760,480 for the cost to replace the Fairfield Beach Road Pump Station force main and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation. Would this be John Marsilio? Sorry, may I have a motion? Seconded, John Marsilio.
So there's actually two components to this. There's this part, which is the forced main, or that is what item number 9 pumps through, which is the actual pump station. So this is a forced main, which means it's a line that's under pressure that has to be replaced. It's past its useful life. And so this is the first part of that project.
Being that you're on the WPCA, how do you feel about this project?
These projects all came before the WPCA board last night. The board unanimously approved them moving forward. There were just some concerns, about funding and the long-term capital planning, but appreciate this work needs to be done both for those that use our sewer system and just for the overall future of our town.
Yes, for the sake of items 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Actually, no. All the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, through 15. These are all sort of, we're going to go through them quickly, and many of the comments that I would make now are applicable to all of these projects. For the public's sake, we have to, as a town, upgrade the current state of our water pollution control facility and the sewer pipes. I'm sorry.
The collector system.
The collector system, basically the pipes and drains, and currently the collector system has significant amount of infiltration from rainwater, sometimes seawater. It taxes the facility. The facility is reaching its maximum capacity, but not because of actually what it should be processing. It's processing water that comes in through infiltration for up to 50%, I believe, of that. So we have to fix that. And part of this project is to fix that. Part of it is to upgrade the plant, which is in need of significant work. And in order to develop certain areas of town, we can't really do several areas of town. We can't really develop several areas of town without upgrading the sewer system. So this is a major project. We've been talking about it for a long time. This is actually just the beginning of that project. It's going to take 10 to 15 years. Yeah. So that's we'll be hearing about this on an ongoing basis for many years. Any other comments?
No, I just on behalf of the WPCA, there are just concerns about the long-term capital plan and making sure that other town boards are aware of some of the funding challenges the WPCA might be having in the coming years when funding these very large projects, and just wants the reassurance that the town is aware of those challenges and will be providing some of a backstop of support.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone needs to be aware that the town, any bonds issued for WPCA are on the full faith and credit of the town of Fairfield. So we should not be really, while there's some legal differentiation, we should not be looking at WPCA as a distinct entity from the town. The risk of failure of the system is is on the town. The risk of not being able to fund the upgrades is on the town. So this will all get done, and the town will always be supporting the WPCA.
I appreciate the comment that this is the beginning of the process, and just really look forward to the capital planning projects for these projects and the many others that we know that we have to address throughout town. So I won't get too far down the line, but we'd be very interested in hearing after we go through the budget process of focusing more on our capital waterfall. I know the Board of Finance had reviewed the waterfall. I don't believe the updated version has come before the Board of Selectmen. So I would just make a request in the next 6 months or so that we just get a look at that before the capital planning summit that usually happens in the fall.
Okay. All right, any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So I believe we could probably get through the remaining items pretty quickly. They're all projects related to this overall upgrade of the sewage treatment facilities collector system. Item number 5, Water Pollution Control Authority supplemental resolution requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution. Whereas the town of Fairfield, the town has adopted at the request of the Water Pollution Control Authority, WPCA, a resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $2,760,480 for the cost to replace the Fairfield Beach Road Pump Station, force main, and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation, the resolution. And whereas the resolution appropriated $2,760,480 for costs to replace the Fairfield Beach Road Pump Station, force main, the project, and authorized the issuance of bonds, the bonds, and/or clean water fund obligations, the CWF obligations. And whereas, while the town is liable for the debt service on the bonds and the CWF obligations for internal accounting purposes, it is appropriate that the costs of the project, including debt service on the bonds and the CWF obligations, be allocated to the WPCA, and whereas the town's WPCA has agreed to pay for the costs of the project and the debt service on the bonds and the CWF obligations authorized by the resolution, and now therefore it is hereby resolved that the debt service on the bonds and the CWF obligations as it becomes due shall be paid by the WPCA from its own funds, and the obligation of the WPCA shall be set forth in a memorandum of understanding, the MOU, with the town satisfactory to the first selectman, and that the first selectman is hereby authorized to execute the MOU on behalf of the town. May I have a motion? Seconded. Is there anything you want to add to on this?
So this is merely the pipe work associated with the pump station. And the pump station itself is a discrete project which will be in
I'm not sure if we, take comments, public comment on this? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Now, going forward for these pairs of, describing the projects, approving the projects, and the resolutions, should we, since all the resolutions are pretty much the same, should we skip the resolutions? Or would you like me to read all of them?
We can waive the reading of the resolution.
Okay, so item number 6, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled a resolution appropriating $4,500,000 for the costs of Phase 5 of the Water Pollution Control Facility Inflow and Infiltration Improvements program, and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriations. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Anything you would like to add on this?
Yes. So this $4,500,000 represents 3 years of the program. As you said correctly before, more than 50% of the effluent that is processed at the plant is groundwater, stormwater, and it is not sewage per se. So this program is the program that goes out into the field, addresses the collector system, locates all of the holes, the flaws, the gullies in the pipe, and all that needs to be done to ensure that the filtration is removed from the system. So rather than having to build a larger treatment facility to treat this water that shouldn't have to be treated, address the inflow and make sure that system is tight and we're only only processing sanitary sewage. So this is for 3 years. There's $1,500,000 in the waterfall for the next 3 years. That's what this represents.
And make sure I recall this correctly, this is sort of a catch-up, right? Yeah, and that there's always going to be an ongoing I&I expenditure, but we are well behind and need to do a significant amount of work over the next 3 years. So we'll still have an ongoing sort of $1.5 million per year or.
Well, look, you're going to find major flaws in the system. And once you cure those, as you go on, you hopefully are able to monitor flows throughout the system. And you know, the last commission meeting, the scheduled one, they're buying these devices which can monitor flow. And when you see the flow increase after it rains, you know that's rainwater getting into your system. And so you target those locations that have the biggest variation in flows. And so as you go out, I think that number should go down. As you are able to identify the most egregious flaws, you will should be able to get to a more comfortable number in your operating budget that should be used.
Right.
And you're right, in the past there had been money dedicated, there has been line items for I&I infiltration work, and it was never really a formal program, a full work on an annual basis, and consequently, these things, these flows have become more prevalent and more common.
Thank you. Any questions?
The WPCA is, as Mr. Marsilio said, investing $100,000 in, I think that was the number, in monitors flow monitors, so they can really, if there is increased infiltration to the system, it can become targeted and they can address it sooner rather than later. So this is really something that everyone is on board with addressing, and looking forward to really just getting it underway. And thank you all for the work on this and being advocates to really just move this forward.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Can I make a motion to waive the reading for number 6, which is just the resolution outlining, number 7, outlining number 6 in the same format as the prior resolution?
Thank you. I will give my unanimous consent to waive the reading of all of the resolutions.
Oh, thank you. Okay, do we need to, all in favor?
Unanimous consent, we just
Oh,
basically.
unanimous consent, okay.
Basically, we're all on board with just
Okay,
waiving the
okay.
reading of those resolutions.
So, any comments on number 7 on the resolution? It's, yeah. No? Okay, any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Number 7, the motion passes. Thank you. Number 8, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled "A Resolution Appropriating $5,681,988 for the costs of the Fairfield Beach Road Pump Station replacement and upgrades, and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation." May I have a motion? Seconded. Mr. Marsilio.
So this pump station obviously is on Fairfield Beach Road. There's one there now. This is a complete replacement of that. And because it is in a flood zone, it has to observe all of the FEMA height regulations, and that has caused the budget to become at this level of budget is probably the same cost as the Sport Hill Road pump station, but it's 5 years later, it's as I said, in a flood zone, so it has to adhere to all regulations. So that is why this is so costly. The other thing is, this is the largest pump station left in the 6 that we have to address. This is the most expensive and obviously the largest. It's also in a harsh environment down there. So there are, I'm sorry. So whatever is replaced has to also be cognizant of the fact that it's in a saltwater, harsh environment, and that adds costs to it also. So it's beyond its useful life. I think it was built originally in 1955, and it's essential to replace it.
And I think just want to reiterate something you said. This is the first and maybe one of the more complicated of 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the others will be addressed over the coming few years.
The others will be addressed at the pleasure of the commission. They're on the waterfall as a method to permit you to have a capital vision of the future of what's coming at you. But the actual execution of the projects don't occur unless the commission first approves them, with the exception maybe of the I&I, which aren't discrete projects.
That's ongoing.
It's just an ongoing exercise and expenditure. But these discrete projects, like pump station and force mains, they will occur and be executed upon the approval of the commission.
I think I've heard stories of pump stations failing, maybe not in Fairfield, I can't recall, but it could be a real problem, right?
Well, Trumbull had 13 of them. There were always problems.
Yeah.
Can you speak to just what type of problems, just for the public, in terms of that, what happens if we don't do this? If we just decide the price tag is too big, we don't want to do it right now?
Oh, I'll give you a great example. It's right before New Year's and you can't flush your toilet because this transports everything that goes into that well. There's a well there, and it transports it uphill to a location where it can then go by gravity into the treatment facility. If the pumps fail, you have no, you won't be able to flush your toilet. And it always happens at the worst time. You know how that works, right? Or in the middle of summer. And then these aren't quick cures. Sometimes it's as simple as just having a pump on the shelf, and you run in and you just hook everything you can. It pumps in like rain and all, but that's days. Sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it's electronic, and you need something goes into that is unavailable for a week. And so now what you have to do is go down there and get a truck to pump it constantly, haul it away, take it to the treatment facility. And so that's very costly, and in the interim, it's an incredible.
I don't have the sewer lines, the map memorized. Now, does this pump station, like, would downtown flow into this pump station or a different pump station?
Fairfield Beach Road.
So it was
That's
just,
that whole area there.
just that whole area, but not,
Most of downtown flows by gravity to the
right to the treatment stand? Right to the, okay. All right.
Any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Item number 9, we've already universally waived the readings of the resolutions. It's on the same expenditure. May I have a motion? No, we don't. We've waived, may I have a motion to discuss, right? Seconded. Anything to add, John, on the resolution itself? It's the for the pump station.
No, I have nothing to add.
Any comments from the public?
I actually do have a question.
Oh.
Just in terms of issuing bonds or using the Clean Water Fund, just how is that decision? I mean, do you just automatically use the Clean Water Fund if available?
I don't think so. We didn't use clean water funds. Well, there was a time where borrowing costs were lower than the clean water funds, and we never used them, right?
I mean, both of them are, and you can get back to me. We don't need to answer it right now. Just trying to,
Clean Water Fund is 2%. I am not sure if all of these projects come under clean water.
okay.
Yeah, it's in here, but we still would need to ensure that they are applicable.
Yeah,
David Becker?
yeah, I don't know much on it, because the last time we would have done that, it would have predated me, but bond council yesterday noted that while it was listed on all 4, most likely only 2 of them had the potential to be eligible. So it'd be our intent to see if they're eligible to utilize that. So we're pretty early on any of this, because these are the authorizations, and then there's obviously the actual, the next phases. I mean, some of them are spread out over a couple of years. You're not actually gonna, so we've tried to sort of drill home to a lot of the boards and others that are involved, is that we don't actually then, in July, just go out and bond all this. We only bond what we need, when we need it, on a multi-project that would actually be several different tranches. But if 2 of them indeed are eligible for that, we're gonna explore doing that, because at this point, in the past, we might have paid closer to 2 points. We're almost double that right now, otherwise.
Thank you, and really just for addressing my own learning curve with some of these issues, so I appreciate that.
Okay, any
Nothing else.
any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, on to number 10, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, "A Resolution Appropriating $18,670,000 for the costs of water pollution control facility, plant equipment improvements, and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or Clean Water Fund obligations to finance such appropriation." May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Mr. Marsilio.
So I'm pretty certain that this is an eligible Clean Water Fund project. Anything to do with improving the facility does qualify. In your backup, you saw the report from consultant on the facility, called the facility study, and this was 2 phases of the study, and this probably is 24 to 36 months there. If you look at the number of areas within the facility from where the effluent was introduced to a number of the other areas of EV lighting for sanitizing it and the like. So there are discrete components of this. You'll see it in your packet, and they're rated high, medium, and low in terms of the need to address them. This really represents the high and the medium. So the low is still out there. If we feel that has to get done sometime in the future, 5 or 6 years from now, the total estimate for the repairs in today's dollars was some $32 million. And of course, this is, again, needed because many of the components in that plant are inefficient, they're past their useful life, they're dangerous in some instances. It's essential that this be addressed. And working with the purchasing agent in town to determine the delivery method of the project overall. That may or may not determine whether desire to access clean water.
I think that's important to point out, thank you, that Clean Water Act funding can limit the way you manage the project, the type of bidding, and so you may, even though it may be, the interest rate may be lower, in the end, it could be more costly in some ways to use, from what I understand.
Yeah, so, I don't know, what does the town borrow at now?
It's,
Well, we
3 point something?
yeah, I was just saying.
Well, we haven't borrowed.
In fact, yeah, I don't know, in the current environment, it's probably gonna be high 3, low 4s. We don't know yet this year.
June.
But we forecasted, I wanna say in the capital waterfall, an average of 4.
So that's important, because Clean Water Act money is 2%.
Right.
So if you are borrowing at 4%, to not avail yourself of clean water fund money is costing you 2%.
And you just have to weigh the cost of money versus the cost of
Construction.
project of construction.
Other communities have determined other delivery methods than merely design, bid, build, or construction management, and they have saved themselves 10%.
Right.
So that's going to be a challenge to try and get an idea of the cost or some firm costs and weigh the delivery method against the borrowing costs and see if that is more beneficial. And that will happen.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. All right, thank you. Motion passes. So waive the reading for item 11. May I have a motion? Seconded. Anything to add on the bonds, Bucky, on the resolution? Anything? Any public comment? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Item number 12, Chief Financial Officer to 20 years, require Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, "A Resolution Appropriating $1,923,000 for the costs of the Tide Gates Repair and Replacement Project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation." May I have a motion? Second, Mr. Marsilio.
This is an engineering project. It is generated by a consultant who is did an appraisal of all of our tide gates. Essential item in the flooding in Fairfield. It's essential number one that they operate as designed. It's essential number two that we find them. There are some that are out there that are covered in silt, and we have to have to uncover them and see what they are in. Now, understandably, if they're covered, they're not operating. That's just a given. So the other complication is that in any of these tidal areas, there is always hazardous material that we have to deal with. And this is the case with those areas that we have to excavate, determine the bulkheads of the types of these sort of locations are causing us to spend more money than we anticipated. But it has to be done. We have a commitment to trying to control flooding in Fairfield, and unless the flood control system is operable and maintained, that won't happen. So this is a critical item to address.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Yeah, I mean, I believe we've been talking, or at least I feel like we've been talking about this for a long time, so I've got no questions either. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Thank you, item passes. Item number 13, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, "A Resolution Appropriating $3,770,000 for the costs of traffic signal improvement project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or Clean Water Fund obligations to finance such appropriation." May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, who will be taking this?
I could explain
That's the director.
and if I get in trouble, I'll just hold up. We had a study done in the same fashion that we had a evaluation done of our roads and sidewalks. We had one done of our traffic signals throughout town. And this is a multi-year program also. We have ARPA money left in this year to address one signal location and perhaps more signal components that have to be replaced. The goal is to standardize all of these locations. There's 16 of them, Bill? Yep, 16. And every single one of them requires some level of repair, replacement, and in addition, there is going to be a communication system that will reside in this building that will notify the engineering department when there are any defects out in the field, a flashing light, a light that's out, anything that could be hazardous to travel. We will know instantly, and we'll be able to cure that. So, but that requires standardization of all the control panels, and standardization of all the components, and that's what this program intends to do. And again, this is probably 25 to 28 other years at this point.
We have no centralized control right now. And I think a lot of residents might be surprised to hear that. I would imagine many towns have centralized controls of their traffic lights. And does that mean, I don't know if this is the right buzzword, but smart technology to to ensure the most efficient flow of traffic at different times of the day and things like that? Is that part of?
You could control the signals from one central location, the timing, any of that. But look, our sense of safety is really what overwhelms us. When a traffic signal, and you've seen them, stops working, it's chaos. And to be advised instantly that there's a problem is a benefit to the safety of the motorist.
Right now, we're relying on someone calling it in.
Correct, or the policeman seeing it and calling us. And, you know, a light bulb is out. Nothing more frustrating than have one of those little left-hand turn arrows that's not working. You know, it happens to me, it happened to me a couple times here on the Post Road. Of course, they were the state of Connecticut traffic signals, not ours. But, and they don't have a central system either. But, yeah, there's enough road rage out there as it stands. And this is just an effort to bring our system of intersections that we have control over into this century. And we're 25 years into it.
Does this allow you to program traffic signal changes based on experience, based on traffic flow data? Or?
Yeah, and not only that, but it'll also incorporate. Yes, it can.
Yeah.
It has that flexibility into it. The other thing is fire engines, police, they'll have transponders in them, so that when they're coming to an intersection, that transponder turns all the lights red. Everyone stops, and they can get on with their business. So the safety of the motorist in an emergency is also addressed by this new technology. Some of our lights need new mast poles, and they're still hanging on those wires, and they're swinging around right now. And who knows what kind of damage occurs to them. But in some instances, we'll have to address that too.
Any questions?
No. I think this, just for the safety of our community, it seems that this is something that needs to be done. And Mr. Gerber, just safe streets just seems to be just one piece of that puzzle. And just having a centralized location just seems, yeah.
Okay, any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 14, Chief Financial Officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, a resolution appropriating $4,760,000 for the costs of sidewalk accessibility upgrades project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Marsilia.
Yes, this is the sidewalk. So, again, as I said previously, we have a study that was conducted that evaluated the sidewalks throughout the town. And what this budget reflects is a 3-year program, 25 through 27. And it was $2 million a year for the first 2 years, plus $80,000 that's programmed in the operating budget annually, $920,000 in the third year. The report that we received from a third-party engineering firm was clear that their sidewalks in this town are in urgent need of being repaired, replaced, made handicap accessible, and it gave us a roadmap for the work, and gave us a more or less a triage of where to start and where to go, and what to do. Some of these are stone, some of them are asphalt, some of them are concrete. Whatever is done has to be done in accordance with ADA regulations, and this is a third party telling us where to go, what to do, and so it's something that's been neglected for a long time. And, but this is again a safety issue. There are trip hazards. There are holes. There's some that require immediate attention. When we pave a road now, when we address the paving, we do routine repairs on sidewalks. There's no wholesale replacement. We certainly address the ADA ramping issues, but the actual sidewalk itself, we patch. In many instances here, and these are for all the extant sidewalks. That's only what we have in place right now. That's what this program addresses. I understand that there is a need to extend sidewalks and to engage in connectivity, not moving another program. It's in the board for to engage in that program also. But for now, we have in our possession a list of locations that are hazardous. And we're obligated to address those locations where these sidewalks are iterated.
Any comments?
No, I mean, we've heard from residents, and it is, again, just a safety issue with addressing our existing sidewalks that we have. I do, having walked a lot during campaign season, when you're walking on a sidewalk and then it stops, and then a few yards later there's another sidewalk, would it be more cost efficient just to add that sidewalk while we're doing these repairs at the same time?
We could look at that. I agree with you. I don't like to see that either. We could look at that. Sometimes they were there at one time and the owners removed them. That has happened. But we'll look at that. You're right. We do, and Bill especially, has an eye for connectivity. He's already brought some of those issues to me. And, between this program, the next program, which is, we'll talk about in a second, which is the paving program, and Good Streets program, and Bill's input into other areas that require connectivity. We have our eyes open, and we're putting them. We're putting a full court press on it. This is a major emphasis for engineering and public works.
Well, I've been here talked to Bill a lot about this, and over the years, can see the expression in Bill's face when his sidewalk budget got eliminated or cut to $30,000 or $50,000. I mean, it's been going on forever, and it really is in my view, one of the clearest examples of where government can fail to be rational, because just letting some of these sidewalks go without, sometimes we didn't even repair them, then now we're paying the price. And these big numbers are for this year. We'll get to, as you mentioned, we'll get to a point at some point in the next few years of where there'll be an operating budget that will manage this, and this is just catch up. and it's big, right?
This is the number 3 complaint we get in public works, sidewalk issues. Tree roots raising one panel and creating tripping hazards, and the residents see it, they want it repaired, and this hopefully will take care of a sizable chunk of that.
Okay, any comments from the public? Hearing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, item passes. Item number 15, the financial officer, 20 years, requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, a resolution appropriating $4,921,761 for the costs of the roadway accessibility upgrades project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and/or clean water fund obligations to finance such appropriation. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Monticello.
Okay, so this is the paving program, again, based on third-party analysis of our roadway system in town. This, again, is a 3-year program. This represents 3 years. The amounts in this bonding request are based on the study plan, and it contemplates that the $2 million in the operating budget remain in the operating budget for the next 3 years. So this is the delta of what the data plan recommended above $2 million a year. So operating $2 million, $1,000,007, $1,006,000, $1,004,000, and if you've read that report, you'll note that over time we get to a sustaining period where, for the most part, the roads in town, on average, rise to a certain percentile of rideability and safety, and then it becomes more of a maintenance program than a rehabilitation program. So, 25, 26, and 27, and it would be in addition to an anticipated funding level of the same amount as we have now.
I will be supporting this. I just have a question. When the Board of Selectmen reviewed the ARPA funding earlier in the year, we elected to keep the funding for Rooster River as is. Said that, I appreciate the administration's concerns around the timeline. I don't know where we are with that, because that money was going to go to paving. If things need to be reallocated, would some of this funding, will we do a swap? Would the ARPA money that is currently for Rooster River be, the ARPA be bonded, and that money go to paving? I'm not being very eloquent right now.
No, it's very clear.
I think.
No, I know exactly.
Because.
So
I know this is potentially down the line, like right now I would be approving this, but I guess if we're going to be revisiting ARPA at some point, this could be potentially adjusted again. I just want to make sure this is the same project that we're talking about in terms of paving.
Yeah, we can, even if this is approved, you can go 2 routes, but one would be to deauthorize a portion of this, if choosing to instead bond the Rooster River piece and use ARPA for this. So nothing sets in stone that you have to use all of this amount towards that and not use other funds, or it'd be a deauthorization at that point if you wanted to. So that option exists. And none of this is gonna get spent again to the point of physically bonding it and on day one, and in my world, hopefully soon we sort the booster and those issues. But to keep things in motion with the plans that we have, you've got to continue on the path, and it did have bonding for this project in the capital plan to come forward, so.
Maybe for the public's sake,
Yeah,
for the public's sake, just back up a little bit. So what Selectwoman Vitale is referring to is, for the public's sake, I know David knows this very well, on the American Rescue Act funds, we had, I think it was $2.8 million going towards Rooster River flood mitigation efforts. Army Corps of Engineer was taking a long time to approve, 14 months, I think, to get back to the town on the status of the permit application. Got to a point where we were very concerned about losing the ARPA funds because those funds need to be encumbered. Means like we have to have picked our engineering firms and construction firms and have signed contracts before the end of this current year, the calendar year, and we are running up against that deadline. So originally, I proposed that we transfer, that David and I proposed that we transfer those monies out of the ARPA fund designated towards Rooster River and move it into paving. There was some concern by a member of this board and some in the public that if we did that, maybe Rooster River flood mitigation would not get funded, even though I said it would get funded, but I couldn't guarantee it because I'm not in full control of what the Board of Finance would do. I just found it hard to believe they wouldn't fund through bonding that project, which is really desperately needed. But regardless, we kept the money designated to Rooster River. As things have moved along, Bill Hurley has put together a timeline. We are running dangerously close to the December deadline. We will know probably within the next couple of months whether the risk is too great to jeopardize that money, and we may still ask to reallocate that money to another, it may not all be paving, it could be some other things as well. As of today, it's still sitting in the Rooster River project, but I'm concerned now that we're thinking maybe a little conservatively that, we may not be able to encumber those funds till December, sometime in December. That's too close for comfort.
Yeah, and exactly. I think it's highly likely that we're going to end up wanting to do that swap. You could deauthorize it. You could be at the same meeting. You could deauthorize a portion of this. I think if I'm reading, the one concern would be now you've bonded for all of this paving.
Well,
you do the Rooster River bonding piece now, and there you had an allocation, and it's actually sort of exceeded and gone towards both. Plus, you're now reallocating ARPA. If all of this occurred, let's say in a few months from now, and I think that the short answer is we would address it at that time. There would be a deauthorization of some of this bonding. The board chose to do that, and as the first selectman had pointed out, this may not, if we were to take, and I think the last time was supposed to be the last time on ARPA, but if we take one last find out the sort of the ARPA proverbial apple there, there may be a few things, because there were a couple of pieces of feedback that came from the from particularly on the RTM side that we may want to address when we go to do that. So it may not be an even dollar swap, but we would probably ask for a significant deauthorization of the paving piece. But Rooster and paving would be kept whole.
okay.
Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just, I was not supportive of reallocating the ARPA away from Rooster River earlier in the year, but at that time, very much appreciated that we need to revisit this. I think we said April at that meeting, and here we are in April. I'm happy to see that we're bonding for this project right now.
I'm not sure we realize, I don't know if you realize that Army Corps of Engineers was going to require a 90-day comment period. I mean, all this time gets eaten up in, it's.
And I would just, and we're down into the Upper Rooster piece, but just for comparables, I will, because I've reiterated this 100 different times, just because you encumber it doesn't mean that you haven't spent it, and if anything goes wrong with the project, inside of the next 24-month period with ARPA funds, you're toast.
Okay.
You gotta change.
So I don't want to take us too far down to discuss
So,
Rooster River.
Paving,
Just-
obviously, as we're discussing
We
here,
need
there's
this.
a lot of flexibility.
Right.
So,
All right.
we need this to at
We need
least
this and we,
keep having
moving
the
it
overall
forward.
I think since you
approval.
mentioned it, for the public's sake,
Yeah.
not only does it have to be encumbered by the end of this calendar year, the money actually has to be spent before December 2026, right?
And similar to the flexibility that we have with this bonding resolution now, paving, we are able to encumber funds, we're able to spend funds, they're usually done with off the state contract. We have a lot of flexibility from that perspective. So similar to if you approve in this and want to switch the funding mechanism or some of the timelines a little bit, paving and sidewalks frankly, but paving has a lot of flexibility built into it, into the mechanics as to how we do it. And we would address, I think, what the concern is that you have, no matter what.
Good.
nothing else, yep.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Item passes, and we are done with engineering. Thank you for coming in. Thanks, Bill. Item number 16, this is David Becker, Board of Finance. You here consider and act upon authorizing the first selectman to enter into an agreement between the town of Fairfield and PKF O'Connor Davies to provide services to the town of Fairfield, including review of policies and procedures and related internal controls for human resources / payroll functions, review of Munis system rights for payroll module, review of payroll change process / forms, including payroll change reports, and review of recommendations regarding manual processes, including payroll process. The services are anticipated to commence on or around April 22nd, 2024, and the estimated fee for said services is $8,500 to $9,500. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. David?
Yes, so, thank you for the review on this item. This is coming under the Board of Finance. I am presenting largely for that board on behalf of their chairwoman. One thing to note ultimately is that this project would come out of the Board of Finance's budget. They have a budget allocated. They actually had some other projects that they thought they'd have spent more funds on that didn't necessarily transpire at those dollars, so there's plenty of room in the budget for doing this. It is largely coming to you as a contract item, and to do the engagement letter with them. It is below the $10,000 threshold. There was just some concern that it may go over the 30-day window by the time you fully engage and they come on site and exit. So to just stay totally, aboard within that lane, they wanted to make sure that the chair wanted to make sure it came to you. It has not been voted on yet by the Board of Finance to do this, but it is, if BOS does approve it, the Board of Finance the chairman will bring it to them to do a full board vote to engage, even though it largely falls really under the subcommittee, but Board of Finance as a whole has a meeting soon, and that would be the best lane. This was largely after the most recent 326-24 audit subcommittee, where once again has been a recurring theme throughout the budget process and prior, just concerns on payroll and between the departments, and the audit subcommittee largely at this point is feeling that, speaking kind of on their behalf, but they're feeling that a prudent step would be to bring the auditor, the outside auditor and their expertise in to assist with this process. So there's a very narrow scope. It's going to involve the finance department, the HR department, really the payroll and those functions. That scope is laid out in 7 bullet points on the backup that was supplied, but largely dealing with processes and procedures, system rights. That's a question that we've got as to who is a primary or secondary approval, who may be able to go in and change something even from a totally different department at this point. So we really want to go through and lay out what it should look like, what it does look like, what their recommendations are to make those changes. This doesn't necessarily stop the internal payroll flow that has been, workflow that's been discussed a few times throughout the budget process. It would augment and really add a layer of support from the outside that is much needed, just as far as also expediting this and just from a bandwidth perspective, bring somebody in who sees this from a lot of different municipalities. So it's a really good step. It's welcome, certainly by the HR director or move guys contractually. So, and continue down the right path.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I think it's a great idea to bring out an outside firm to take a look at this. We've heard, multiple instances of having issues, and happy that, as you said, we're moving forward on this.
Any comments from the public? Chelsea, you come. Back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item passes. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you.